right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to get philosophical?
Always ready to dive in.
I am really pumped for this one as we are tackling Vedanta philosophy,
Yeah.
specifically this lecture by Swami Vivekananda from like over a century ago.
1896 at Harvard.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool that even after all this time, his words still resonate. So, before we get too deep, what is Vedanta anyway? The name itself sounds kind of mystical.
It definitely has a certain ring to it, right? Vedanta actually means end of the Vedas.
Okay.
It specifically points to the Upanishads, which are like the philosophical heart of Hindu scriptures.
So it's not like a set of rules or anything?
No, it's more about understanding existence itself.
Okay, so like a framework that's thinking about the big questions.
Exactly. And what makes it even more interesting is that within Vedanta, there are different schools of thought.
Oh, so different perspectives on these core teachings.
Right. But before we jump into those, let's talk about something they all share: Sankhya philosophy.
Okay, so kind of like their common ground.
Yeah, think of it as Vedanta Psych 101.
All right, Psych 101 I'm in. What are some of the key concepts?
Well, Sankhya introduces Purusha, which is often seen as the soul,
Okay.
this unchanging observer of the material world, or Prakriti, as Sankhya calls it.
I got the soul, the material world, and what else?
And then there's Mahat, the cosmic mind, which kind of bridges the gap between them.
Okay, so the soul's observing the world's changing and the cosmic mind's connecting them. Gotcha. But you said Vedanta goes in a different direction, especially the one Vivekananda was into.
Exactly. Vivekananda was a big proponent of Advaita Vedanta, which means non-dualistic.
Non-dualistic. All right, this is where things get interesting, right?
It is. Advaita actually challenges that separation between Purusha and Prakriti that Sankhya lays out.
So it disagrees with the whole soul observing the world thing?
Not necessarily. It's more like Advaita takes it to a whole new level. Imagine a vast ocean.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
Advaita says everything, even our individual souls and the material world, are part of one reality, kind of like waves in that ocean.
So even though we experience ourselves as separate beings, Advaita says we're all connected.
Precisely. And this ultimate reality, they call it Brahman.
Brahman, so one big interconnected thing. That's pretty radical.
It is. And this feeling of separation, the whole I versus the world thing, Advaita calls that Maya.
Maya, I've heard that word before, but I'm not sure I totally get it. Is it like saying the world is fake?
Not fake in the sense of not existing. It's more about our perception. Imagine walking in the dark and mistaking a rope for a snake.
Oh, yeah, class.
You freak out, right? But then you turn on a light and see it's just a rope. Your fear disappears because your perception changed.
I've definitely done that with laundry piles in the dark.
Exactly. And in a similar way, Advaita suggests that our perception of separateness, that's the snake in this analogy.
Right.
It's an illusion that vanishes when we realize the true nature of Brahman, the rope.
So Maya is like the darkness causing us to see things as separate when they're not.
Yes. And that realization that we're all part of Brahman is the key to what Advaita calls Jivan Mukti, living liberation.
Living liberation sounds intense. Does that mean like enlightenment while you're still alive?
That's the essence of it. It's about experiencing a state of freedom and bliss beyond our individual ego. It's recognizing our unity with everything and letting go of that illusion of separateness.
Wow, that's powerful. But I gotta be honest, it also sounds super abstract. How does this living liberation play out in our everyday lives?
Well, it has some pretty big ethical implications.
It's not just some philosophical idea, it's about how we actually live.
Exactly. If we really grasp that we're all fundamentally one, harming someone else becomes like harming ourselves.
It's like the golden rule, but on a cosmic scale, changes how we see our actions and relationships.
Definitely, Vivekananda actually said it really well. In injuring another, I am injuring myself. In loving another, I am loving myself.
It's kind of a powerful way to put it.
Yeah, and this idea of self-abnegation, recognizing the limitations of our ego and acting with compassion, that becomes central to living in line with this understanding.
Self-abnegation. It's not about putting ourselves down, though, right?
Right? It's not about self-denial. It's about expanding our sense of self to include the well-being of others. And this is where Maya comes in again.
Oh, how so?
Well, if we're stuck in that illusion of separateness, we're more likely to act in ways that hurt ourselves and others. But when we start to see through that illusion, our actions naturally shift towards harmony and compassion.
I see. Okay, so understanding Maya isn't just some abstract idea. It can actually change how we live. But honestly, it's a lot to process. How do we even start breaking free from this illusion?
That's where spiritual practice comes in. Vedanta emphasizes things like meditation, self-inquiry, and studying the scriptures as ways to purify the mind and kind of remove those veils of ignorance that keep us trapped.
So it's not just about understanding the concepts intellectually, but actually experiencing this unity firsthand.
Exactly. Vedanta isn't just a philosophy to be debated, it's a way of life to be lived. It's about aligning our thoughts, actions, and intentions with this deeper understanding.
That makes sense, but I'm curious, if everything is ultimately one, Does that mean there's no free will? Are our choices predetermined?
That's a question philosophers have been wrestling with forever. Vedanta offers some interesting insights. While Advaita emphasizes the ultimate unity of all things, it also acknowledges the role of individual effort and choice in our journey toward liberation. Think of it this way. We're all actors on a stage, playing our parts in this grand drama of life.
Okay, I'm following.
The script may be written, in a sense, by the karma we've created through our past actions. But within those roles, we have the freedom to choose how we play them.
So we're not just puppets. We have the power to change things.
Exactly. By understanding Maya, the law of karma, and the power of our choices, we can shape our lives and move towards freedom and fulfillment.
That's pretty empowering. It means we're not just victims of circumstance, but active participants in creating our reality. Speaking of creating reality, this concept of Brahman as the source of everything makes me think about those cycles of creation and destruction we see in the universe. How does Vedanta address that?
That's a great point. Vedanta suggests that the universe isn't static. It's constantly in flux, going through cycles of manifestation and dissolution. And these cycles apply not just to the cosmos, but to our individual lives as well.
So like the saying goes, the only constant is change, but on a cosmic scale.
Precisely, Vedanta recognizes this inherent dynamism of existence. Everything is transforming, constantly birth, death, rebirth. It uses the concept of prana, a kind of cosmic energy or life force acting upon Akasha, the primordial substance or space from which everything comes.
So if I'm picturing this right, prana is like the sculptor and Akasha is the clay.
Perfect analogy. Prana shapes and molds Akasha into all the forms we see in the universe, from the tiniest particles to huge galaxies.
And what about us humans? Where do we fit into all of this?
We, more with all living beings, are expressions of this interplay between prana and Akasha. Our bodies and minds are made of these elements, and our consciousness comes from their interaction.
So we're not separate from the universe, but connected to it through these forces. It's kind of mind-blowing. But it also makes me wonder, what happens after death?
According to Vedanta, death isn't the end, it's a transition. Like we shed our clothes at the end of the day, we shed our physical bodies at the end of a lifetime, but our essential being, our soul, or Atman, continues to exist.
Like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. The form changes, but the essence remains.
Exactly. And just like a butterfly goes through metamorphosis, so does the soul in its journey through many lifetimes. This is where karma comes in. Our actions in this life create karmic imprints that shape our future experiences, including the circumstances of our next birth.
So we're reincarnated. We come back again and again.
That's the idea. It's not about being right or wrong in each lifetime, but about learning and growing through those experiences. Each lifetime is a chance to evolve spiritually, to shed limitations, and move towards greater understanding and liberation.
So life is like a cosmic school, and each lifetime is a new grade level.
You could say that we're all students in the school of life, learning our lessons and evolving towards our full potential.
But if we're all ultimately one with Brahman, why even go through all these cycles of birth and death? Why not just merge back with the source and be done?
That's a really deep question, and Vedanta has a fascinating answer. It suggests that this process of individuation, of separating ourselves from the source, is part of the divine play, the Leela of Brahman. It's through this play of separation and reunion that we come to know ourselves and experience the fullness of our being.
So like a divine game of hide and seek, we hide ourselves in these individual forms, and the goal is to find our way back.
I love that analogy. And this hide and seek isn't a punishment. It's a joyful exploration of consciousness. It's through the experiences of life, the ups and downs, the wins and losses, that we come to appreciate the beauty and diversity of creation.
I'm starting to get it, but it's definitely a different way of looking at life than what I'm used to. It's both humbling and expansive.
That's the beauty of Vedanta. It challenges us to see things from a totally new perspective, to embrace a more holistic view. It encourages us to see how everything's connected, the divinity within us and everyone, and the potential for liberation and bliss that's already there inside us.
It's a lot to take in, but I'm feeling a sense of awe at the vastness of it all.
That sense of awe is a natural response when you start to glimpse these profound truths. And it's that feeling that can fuel our journey of self-discovery and exploration.
This deep dive has been eye-opening. You've given us so much to think about. I'm seeing how these ideas can still be relevant today, even after all these years.
Absolutely. These ancient wisdom traditions offer timeless insights that can help us navigate the challenges of life and find peace, purpose, and fulfillment.
So if someone wanted to learn more about Vedanta, where would you suggest they start?
There are so many paths into this tradition. One way is to read the Upanishads themselves, the primary source texts. There are also commentaries and interpretations by amazing teachers like Shankara Ramanuja and Madhva, each with their own unique take on the core teachings.
Any specific translations or authors you'd recommend for beginners?
For a clear and accessible intro to Advaita Vedanta, I'd suggest the Upanishads, translated by Swami Vivekananda and Frederick Manchester. If you're ready to go deeper into the philosophy, exploring the works of Swami Chinmayananda or Swami Dayananda Saraswati could be enriching.
What about practices? Are there things we can do to connect with these teachings beyond reading?
Definitely, meditation is a key practice in Vedanta. It helps quiet the mind and cultivate inner awareness. Other practices include self-inquiry, contemplating the scriptures, and chanting mantras. These can help you experience the unity and interconnectedness that Vedanta talks about, not just intellectually, but on a deeper level.
So it's a journey of self-discovery, of peeling back the layers to reveal the truth within.
Exactly. And it's not always an easy journey. It takes effort, discipline, and a willingness to question our beliefs.
But it sounds like the rewards are worth it.
Absolutely. The insights from Vedanta can lead to profound shifts in how we understand ourselves, the world, and our place in it. It can be peace, clarity, purpose, and ultimately liberation from the suffering that comes from ignorance.
This deep dive has been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
It's been my pleasure. I encourage everyone listening to keep exploring Vedanta. There's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to experience on this path of self-realization.
And for our listeners, we'll leave you with this. If the world is an illusion, as Vedanta suggests, what does that mean for how we live our lives, make choices, and interact with others? We invite you to ponder this question and continue your own exploration of this ancient wisdom. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.